Yonder puts the ball in play again, deep to right field, and he walks it off! Yager Diaz finishes off a masterpiece for Framber Valdez with a walk-off home run. A 2-1 victory tonight.
Oh, bartender, make this a good one. I desperately needed that Yonder bomb.
ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5. Welcome into the Bullpen. That audio, of course, courtesy of Space City Home Network, the Shin, as some here might call it. And the Astros 2-1 win, the walk-off by Yonder Diaz, the dominant performance from Framber Valdez. Thank you to Todd Callis and Jeff Blum for that call. But we will get to that in a second, John Belmer. But I'm here, Brian McDonald. You can find me on Twitter at SideByBMac. I'm here to start the show. John Belmer behind the glass. You can find him on Twitter at Third Coast Johnny is here to start the show.
I'm here.
What are we missing, Johnny? There's there's an empty chair to my right now. Sometimes in the past, that has obviously been Sean Mapes, but Sean Mapes is only with us about once a month now. Cam Smith, not here to start the show. Oh, there's Cam Smith walking through the door. The show we have that welcome to the show cam drop. He's literally walking in during the show. I think we might have to hit that drop.
No, I'm disappointed in myself. I don't have it.
Oh, you don't have it available. That's too bad. Well, Cam just walked into the studio. You're going to see him if you're watching the stream over on YouTube, set up live as the show is going on. And we will continue to give him grief for this. Apparently, Johnny, he texted us. I didn't see this in real time because I was editing some audio and finding some like stats and things, but he claims someone ran into the gate at his apartment. That's the claim.
I live in Midtown, so there's a lot of dumbasses.
Okay, well, how many of those dumbasses showed up to work on time?
None, except for me.
Except for you? Oh, well, I don't know, Johnny. Would you call this showing up to work on time?
I would not.
Yeah, I would not. The show started, Cam. The show started. I mean, like it happens to all of us.
We're going to go downstairs in a few minutes, and there's going to be front bumper damage on Cam's vehicle.
Cam was the dumbass that ran into the gate.
The hell I was.
All right, welcome into the show, Cam Smith. So we're obviously going to lead off here talking about the Astros 2-1 victory, the walk-off homer by Yonder Diaz. But let's start with the other side of the team there, the pitching. Only needed one pitcher yesterday because Framber Valdez, it's something that hasn't been done since the 90s, and Darryl Kyle went the entire distance for the Astros. 9 innings pitched, only 3 hits allowed, 1 earned run, which was off a homer, struck out 9, goes 9 complete inning, guys, on 83 pitches. It's just absurd. Like I think McTaggart at one point, or maybe it was Chandler Rome, I forget, at one point tweeted out Framber's like pitches by inning, and he had multiple innings where he was 9 pitches or less to get through an entire inning. Like,
that's beautiful.
Obviously, when you're a ground ball pitcher, that has a higher chance of happening than someone that's relying on the strikeouts. Now, he still got 9 of them. But, I mean, just an unbelievable start from Framber Valdez. I mean, I don't even want to call it like vintage Framber because it was so far and beyond his best performance of the season.
I mean, but like this is, I feel like, doesn't it feel like all these Astros pitchers, Hader, Framber, McCullers, like they all have all these amazing performances so far, and it's just been one bad one that's like.
Well, certainly that's been the case with Lance.
Their ERA.
Yeah, we've done this with Lance, and I'll just give out the number now since we're kind of on the topic. But Lance McCullers had the one blow up start against Cincinnati where he only got 1 out, gave up 7 earned runs, which balloons his ERA. I think it's now like 6.5. But if you take out that one start against Cincinnati, otherwise he's 18 innings pitched with 2.50 ERA.
And I feel
like obviously he's coming off starts of 12 and 8 strikeouts in his last 2. He's looked great.
Yeah, and I feel like that's almost. It's weird. Like I almost feel like Framber's kind of floated under the radar this year. Like I feel like there's been so many other like little storylines with the Astros that we almost forget that like, hey, Framber's back to pitching at like below 3 ERA, but because of everything else, it's almost just like.
Yeah, like even in the even just in the starting pitching, not even factoring in the the fielders and hitters. I mean, who's gotten the most headlines out of the starting pitchers this year? It's been Hunter Brown.
It's been
Major League Baseball put out like their power index for starting pitchers. Hunter Brown, at least as of like a week ago, was the number 1 pitcher in all of baseball on their ranking. I mean, Framber Valdez, to your point, I think has fallen far under the radar.
which is crazy. But like, I mean, I'm at fault for this because I said that my initial, I guess, reservation on the Astros being good this year was gonna be their starting pitching, and it's been their pitching that has kept these Astros at a
Yeah, I
500
mean,
and above.
you win 2-1 yesterday. I mean, most of the time you score 2 runs, you should not win.
No,
John, it looks like you had a thought here. But okay. Do you have a thought here on Fromber? It just looked like you're about to jump in.
No, but I will say, you just said, we talked about the starting pitching being, great. And then you said we won 2-1 yesterday. Well, the day before that, they gave up 13 runs.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a little inconsistent, but I will say
for sure.
it is.
And the day before that, the Astros scored 11 runs.
Yes.
So,
but the pitching has been a pleasant surprise.
yeah, I mean, certainly at the top of your rotation, and then the bullpen, other than what Brian King did on Thursday, has been fantastic. So, Cam, I want to go further down the rabbit hole, something you just mentioned. But before I do that, if you want to give us a call or a text on the HRMP list when I join the conversation on the Astros, or later we're going to talk about the Texans, give us a call or a text on the HRMP list line, 713-780-3776. Again, you can also find us on Twitter. I'm at Sack by BMAC. Cam is at Clutch City Cam. And Johnny is at Third Coast Johnny. So you mentioned, Cam, a minute ago about Fromber kind of flying under the radar. And that was one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about, because I think Fromber, not just this year, but I think for his entire Astros career, I think he's been kind of underrated. Like, I mean, the Chandler Rome and then Jeremy Brandon followed suit. Like, people have been coming out with their Astros first quarter century team, like 2000 to 2025. And I don't believe he was on Chandler Rome's team. I know he wasn't on Jeremy Branham's team. And look, the guys on his team, I mean, Verlander, Cole, Roger Clemens, Roy Oswalt, these are elite names. So it's not like any of those guys were undeserving. But Framber Valdez didn't make his list. And so I was just thinking, like, are we, maybe because we're caught up in the moment, or because he's a ground ball pitcher, which, is not as sexy, like, are we undervaluing or underrating what Framber Valdez has been as the Astros ace these last several years? And so I was curious. Now, Roy Oswalt obviously pitched more for the Astros, about 100, not 100 more. Like, I think Fromber's just below 1,000 career innings. Roy Oswalt pitched like just over 2,000 innings as an Astro. So obviously, the time frame isn't the same.
Yeah.
But just looking at their numbers as Astros, not factoring Roy Oswalt when he was a Philly or a Ranger or a Rocky, any of that stuff. But Framber Valdez, a 619 winning percentage as an Astro. Roy Oswalt, 636. So edge to Roy Oswalt, but not drastically higher. I would say those are both pretty close to each other. Then you go on to the ERA. Framber Valdez, 329. Roy Oswalt, 324. I mean, very, very close. Again, slight edge to Roy Oswalt, 324 to 329, but we're talking about 0.05. I mean, it's a very, very small margin. The whip, 1.18 for Fromber, 1.19 for Oswalt. I mean, virtually a tie. And then Fromber actually has a better strikeouts per nine at 8.7 compared to Roy Oswalt at 7.4. So, look, Roy Oswalt was my favorite player of that era, in like the 2000 Astros. I thought he was unbelievable. It was must see TV every time he was on.
Pinstripe era.
Yeah. I hated those. I hated those uniforms. I hated Junction Jack, that stupid mascot. But I loved Roy Oswalt, and he was my favorite player. So I think I have a tendency to put him on a pedestal, and I had no problem with obviously Roy Oswalt being on these all first quarter century teams. He deserves to be. But when you look at the numbers, Framber Valdez is right there with him. I think as a fan base, especially when you compare him to arguably the greatest pitcher in franchise history, as far as someone who pitched a long period of time, because Roger Clemens was here for a very short time. Garrett Cole was only here for 2 years, blah, blah, blah. But when you compare him to arguably the greatest pitcher in Astros history, Framber Valdez is right there.
I mean, he has to be. Obviously, it's going to be hard to like compare him to like J.R. Richards and like Nolan.
Sure,
Ryan.
Completely different era.
Yeah, obviously, completely different era. But if we're talking about from like the 2000s, look, I get that Clemens and Pettit and Cole and Verlander had like these amazing seasons. But if you're talking about like longevity, I mean, Fromber's been here. I mean, he's been here longer than Clemens was. He's been here longer than Pettit was. He's been here longer than Garrett Cole was.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he's been here.
I think he's probably about equal with Keuchel now. because Keuchel was like 14 to, I think he left after the 19 season.
Yeah, and Dallas had some up and down years. I mean, there's some great years from him, but there was also some like 4 ERAs, 5 ERAs with him. So, I mean, yeah, to your point, I mean, after this year, if Frommer can stay doing what he's doing, it's going to be really hard to argue against him not being the best Astros pitcher in terms of like consistency and like longevity
And he's had
in the
some
future.
really, like, he hasn't had the regular season high that Dallas Keuchel had, or Clemens or Verlander, because those guys won Cy Youngs here. But I mean, he's had
But
some big.
Fromber had a Cy Young worthy
He did, yeah,
year.
and he had a no hitter in that
Exactly, yeah.
in that next season. And what I was going to say, he's also had some of. I mean, he hasn't had the Oswald moment where he went on the road in St. Louis and got himself a bulldozer because he shut down the Cardinals. He hasn't had that moment, but he was the winning pitcher on the mound against the Phillies in Game 6 in 2022.
Yeah.
He was the guy that went into Boston in Game 6 of the ALCS in 2021 to shut down the Red Sox. Like, he's had. Now, he's also had some moments that, like he did against the Rangers last year, which was, or 2 years ago. And it wasn't great against the Tigers last year. But so he's had, to your point, like some up and down moments, but his highs, I think, are pretty close to the highs we've seen from some of the other great Astros pitchers.
Yeah, and I also think because of all the winning that the Astros have done the last, I mean, not 10 years, but 7 to 8 years, I feel like these pitchers are put on a higher pedestal. So we're expecting more of them as opposed to the Oswalt years where, yeah, 2005, they went to like the World Series. But other than that, they were pretty trash after
Well,
that. Yeah,
2004, they got to Game 7 of
true.
the NLCS.
I feel like we were holding these players at a higher expectation than we did some of these Astros players in the early 2000s, before they went on that horrific run of 100 losses in a row. So,
I think that's a fair point, because the Astros, outside of '04 and '05, we were pretty much kind of like, well, they'll make the playoffs, but that's pretty much
yeah,
it, because the Braves are going to shut us down,
yeah,
or we're going to lose to the Padres because why am I forgetting John Brown? Kevin Brown gets to
Kevin
go
Brown.
twice in a 5-game series. I think he actually pitched twice in 4 games because of the weird scheduling. Like, I think the expectations have certainly been raised, so that you're right. Maybe the standard that we hold like guys like Fromber to is not the same as some of what we held past Astros pitchers to. But let's stick with Fromber on the other side of the break. You mentioned about his end of year. Well, also end of year, he'll be without a contract with the Houston Astros. Would you pay to bring him back? Plus, on the other side of the break, we also have some thoughts on Jordan, who not in the lineup today, but looks like he could be returning really soon. That when the bullpen returns, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome back into the Bullpen. Brian McDonald, Cam Smith, John Belmer with you here on this Saturday afternoon here in Houston. If you want to join the conversation on Framber Valdez, or we're going to talk about Jordan in a minute. Of course, you can get thoughts in on the Texans as well, which we'll get into in a segment or two. Give us a call or a text on the HRMP listener line, 713-780-3776. So last segment, we were mostly talking about Framber Valdez on the mound last night, which was one of the best starts we've seen in Astros history, especially if you exclude the no-hitters. I mean, you have to go back to, what was it, 1993 with Darryl Kyle, since we've seen a guy throw a 9-inning complete game in 83 pitches or less. I mean, it's just incredible stuff here. I mean, hell,
83 pitches is absolute
craziness.
So
yeah, I believe it was 1980 or 1993, which, if that's the case, Sean Mapes was not alive when that happened.
1983?
1993, yeah. Sean Mapes is not alive. AJ, who's a producer here at the station, also not alive. Like, there's so many people here that work here that weren't even alive the last time an Houston Astros pitcher did this, just to further illustrate the point of how rare last night's performance was. But going beyond what happened actually on the mound last night for Framber Valdez, Cam, you mentioned, like, by the end of the season, if he keeps doing, not specifically that, because that's obviously rare, but pitching extremely well, where he could put himself as far as, you know, the Astros all-time greats as a starting pitcher. And obviously the question becomes for Framber Valdez, like, well, he's also without a contract after this season's over. So would you pay what it would take to bring Framber Valdez back? I think the thinking, and speaking for myself, and I think most people have kind of fallen along the same line of thinking, is like, well, he's probably gone. We've seen it. Obviously, the Astros didn't pay to bring back Keuchel. They didn't pay to bring back Springer or Correa. They traded Tucker away. I think some people expected maybe they would trade Framber Valdez away this offseason as well because of his contract situation, but that didn't happen. So I'm curious what you think the chance is of resigning Framber Valdez. But I was a little taken back by this, because I was expecting what after we saw Max Fried get from the Yankees, which was like 8 years, 200-something million, just like something like that. I mean, great left-handed pitcher, but I would take Framber Valdez over Max Fried. Although Max Fried's having a great year, his ERA is below 2, I believe. But I was looking it up on Spotrac this morning. So Framber Valdez market value projection, what they project him to be worth on the open market if he actually is not re-signed by the Astros before the season is over, it was surprisingly low to me. 3 years, $70.7 million, which works out to 23.6 per year. And he's making 18 million this year. So that would be a raise by $5 million. So his contract would go up. But look, if I'm Jim Crane, if I'm the Astros, if I'm Dana Brown, and the cost is 3 years, $70 million to bring back Framber Valdez, I know he's a starting pitcher, so we're worried about injuries. I know he's above 30, so that brings in an extra element of risk. But 3 years, $70 million? There is no way you cannot bring him back if that's the going price.
Absolutely not. I mean, it sucked watching Correa and Springer and all these guys go, but I feel like position players are a little more easy to replace than starting pitching. And we've seen the massive injuries to hit Astros pitching the last couple of years.
Oh, I mean, Christian Javier, Luis Garcia, Lance McCullers, Jose Urquidy. I mean, Ronel Blanco. I mean, Spencer Arrighetti got randomly hit by a ball during batting practice. I mean,
the list just goes on and goes on and goes on.
Oh yeah, there's more names.
Yeah,
that was not the end of the list.
At some point, you have to spend money. And my thing is if you can give McCullers over $100 million with doing less than what Framber
he didn't get over $100 million, did he? Are you sure about that?
Wasn't it over 100?
No, I don't think so. Like, he's only making like 18 per year, so he'd have to be like a 6-year deal in order. I'm going to make sure I'm not crazy, but I mean, I get your point. Like, you paid him for 2 years to do nothing, So I mean, I get your overall point,
Yeah.
but I don't think you made $100 million.
Well, if
5 years, 85.
5 years, 85.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my bad. 85 million. That's still more than
It's still a lot.
$70
It's still a
million
lot of money.
dollars. And Fromber has done more than McCullers has. So there's really
doubt.
no argument to not pay Fromber, because if you do not pay him and we're going into next season with Hunter Brown and
Don't say Hunter Brown's name like that.
No.
That
I'm-
sounded like something.
I'm putting
Brown.
all the respect on Hunter Brown.
Okay.
Hunter Brown is our number one ace. I'm down with that. But if it is Hunter Brown and
Eric Getty
Eric Getty
and
and
McCullers
and all these other names, we are.
What you talking? You don't want to see Ryan Gusto back as one of your starters next year? Mid ass Ryan Gusto
as the fifth, sure.
I don't even know if I want him as a sixth, bro.
Well,
Ryan Gusto,
even more to the point, you have to bring Fromber back. I mean, what is the argument to not bring him
There's
back?
not one. If look, I don't think this Spotrac market value projection is going to end up being true.
No.
Like if I were to guess what Fromber Valdez gets, it starts at 4 years, $100 million. And I think that's on the low side. Again, Max Fried got $200 million.
Yeah.
So I don't think this gets it done. But if Jim Crane lets Fromber Valdez walk out the door over 3 years, $70 million, I'm gonna be pissed. Like that, Like I get the business aspect of paying Springer what he got would have been done. Paying Correa what he got would have been done. I'm fine with that. But 3 years, $70 million for a guy that feels like he's a lock to be a top 5-ish Cy Young candidate every year? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean,
Andy's a lefty.
Andy's a lefty.
Andy's a lefty. Yeah. Come on now.
Yeah, no, it would be absurd if he. Now again, fully recognize that there's almost, I don't know what percentage chance you could put that he actually only gets 3 years, $70 million. I'd say it's like 10%. Again, I think it starts at 4 years, 100. So I don't think this is going to wind up even being a thing that we have to talk about, because they'll get way more than this. But yeah, I think Jim Crane sometimes has been unfairly labeled as cheap. If he lets Fromber Valdez walk over 3 years, $70 million, hypothetically, according to the Spotrac market projection, I would very firmly label him as cheap.
Cheap, and that's just asinine. That is just I don't know. All
right, so let's get to Yordan Alvarez, who, I mean, well, before we get into our thoughts, Joe Espada in the dugout yesterday before the Astros game, which obviously ended in the 2-1 victory for the good guys, was asked about Yordan Alvarez, an update as far as when we could expect him back, what's going on, how the live batting practice went with Yordan Alvarez. Here's what the Astros manager had to say.
I thought today went really well. Hit some balls out of the ballpark, hit the ball the other way. He said he felt good. So we'll see where this takes us. But I think this is a step in the right direction.
Was there a chance he could play today? Did he want to play today, or how'd that go?
Oh, knowing him. But you know what? I told him, let's just take it, one step at a time. I think today was a really good day, and we'll see where we go from here.
Do you just kind of have to wait to see how his hand responds to this before you decide what's next?
Yeah, I think so. I think we want to just give this some time here and see how he feels. But I think today went well.
So just the fact that he was able to hit off pitching today meant that yesterday he woke up, felt good?
Yeah, that's that was kind of the step, the process. If yesterday went well, move forward today and face some live BPs, and he did. And then we'll see where we go from here.
So that is, again, Astros manager Joe Espada talking about Yordan Alvarez and where his recovery from the mysterious hand injury stands currently. Now, he talked like there's a chance that he could have played yesterday. I don't know how true that was because he's not in the lineup today. So if it was really close to him playing yesterday, he probably would have been in the lineup today. I guess at this point, they're probably just going to wait to the road trip. And I've always heard that managers sometimes prefer to put guys who have been out for a while as a return on the road, because there's less pressure to immediately step up and perform for the home crowd. They're not pressing as they go back into it. So if I would guess, he's also not in the lineup tomorrow, and then he returns when the road trip starts next week. But I don't know about you guys, but Yordan Alvarez has been out since May 2nd. And we still don't really know what his hand injury was. And look, I'd like to believe that nothing weird is happening, but this is the same franchise who didn't know which hand of Jordan Alvarez was hurt just 3 years ago. This is the same franchise that told us that Kyle Tucker could return 3 days after a bone bruise, which then kept him out for 3 months.
Yep.
I mean, like, this is the same franchise that told us that Christian Javier hurt his neck sleeping on a hotel pillow, and that turned into Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
So like I mean, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with any information the Astros give us. And Chandler Rome, to his credit, has been more vocal about his displeasure with how the Astros handle things. But when Jordan Alvarez initially got hurt, again, he hasn't played since May 2nd, so we'll pretty much be at a full month. Like, if he returns next week, it'll be a full month, because tomorrow's June 1st. He would not be playing until a month out from his last game. When he first went down, they told us no imaging was required. Oh, it's fine. It's a minor thing. No imaging is required. We're not worried about, a break. We're not worried about anything structurally damaged. We're not even going to look at it. We're not even going to, even though we have an X-ray room down the hall, Jordan would have to walk 100 feet to get there. We're not going to look at his hand because it's fine. 3 days later, they took an image of his hand. Like, I mean, so clearly whatever minor injury happened wasn't healing to the way that they had hoped. And of course, we don't get any of this information because the Astros tell us nothing. But it's just weird that they would tell us it's so minor that they're not even going to take imaging, when, again, they have the technology in their building, and then he's out a month.
Yeah.
It's so minor, we're not even going to look at it. He's out 30 days. I just don't know what to do with the Astros right now.
And he's arguably like he's the
most important player to your franchise.
Yeah, exactly. The Astros are very frustrating when it comes to talking about injuries, but I almost feel like it even goes further back than some of the names we mentioned. I mean, hell, didn't Hunter Pence walk through
he walked through a
screen door in his bathroom, and they're like, "Oh, he just got cut. He'll be fine." And then he was out for a couple months too. Like,
I don't remember how long. I remember what happened. He was in the hot tub with some chicks, and he tried to go back inside and forgot the door was closed.
I got the door and walked through. Like, yeah, obviously that's not a baseball injury, but even that one was, if I remember correctly, he was supposed to be back shortly because it was supposed to be just a cut. And then he was out for weeks and weeks. And I don't know if he was ever actually the same.
Oh, he had a good career.
He had a really good career, but I mean, he left the Astros like
I don't remember what year, like 2006 or 7.
Yeah.
Well, he went to Philly first, and then
God damn. I mean, how many? Sorry.
Dump that, Johnny.
My bad. How many players from the Astros go to the Phillies?
That, Cam, who doesn't show up to work on time, just drop a GD on the air and make Johnny had to dump him. I'm not gonna let you just walk past that like you just Hunter Pence yourself through the door of radio.
Well, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Well, can I just say how boss it is that Hunter Pence is so jacked? Well, he didn't even seem like he was that jacked, but he just like casually like walks himself through a sliding glass door. Like, I mean, unless this is some janky ass sliding glass door made by Lego, like how is he walking like in a casual, like think about it, you're outside in a hot tub, right? You're chilling with the ladies and you go back inside for whatever reason. Like you're not sprinting, like that's a casually like, and he bust through like the Kool-Aid man.
He's got some sharp elbows.
I guess, Johnny.
He did. He was a very funky looking baseball player.
He swung weird. He threw weird.
He ran weird.
Yeah, he did.
Just an awkward character. But hey, shout out to Hunter Pence. Great Astros player. Yeah. Poor sliding door.
Yeah, Hunter Pence 1. Well, no, sliding door 1. Yeah. Hunter Pence 0. I don't know. He did break through it though.
He did.
So I don't know if I want to
shattered it.
I don't know if I want to give the win to the sliding door. He broke through it. Quickly before we go to the break, actually, we got some more Astro stuff, and we'll split it with some Texans talk on the other side of the break. So, ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5, a move the Astros should make now when we get back from the break, and CJ Stroud not throwing at OTAs. How concerned are you? That when the bullpen returns, ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Welcome back in. Bullpen, ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5. Brian McDonald, Cam Smith, who shows up to work late, drops potty words on the radio that John Belmer, our hardworking producer, has to drop. You're making John do extra work.
Technically,
John
I got here right on time.
Yeah, I had already started talking.
It wasn't on time.
It wasn't on
the
time.
The show was actually live when you walked in the door.
How do I know y'all didn't start early just to make this a bit?
No, I don't want to do radio. I don't want to do radio without someone sitting next to me. No, are you kidding me? No, I was panicking. No, I wasn't panicking. I knew you were a few minutes away, but no, I would not do that. I would not do extra work just to shame you. Okay. All right. So, well, maybe. Yeah, it depends. Depends on the mood that day. Again, at Talking Astros here, Texans coming up in just a couple minutes. If you want to join the conversation, give us a call or a text on the HRMP listener line, 713-780-3776. So I mentioned before the break a move the Astros should make right now. Now, obviously, when Yordan comes up, I would expect Cesar Salazar to get sent down with the Astros' third catcher. Like, he's only played, I think, once since they called him up, and that was as a starting or as a relief pitcher a couple of nights ago. Which, to his credit, Brian King gave up 5 runs. Cesar Salazar, your third catcher, threw a scoreless inning. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe,
young candidate.
Maybe keep him up as a bullpen arm. I don't know. I'm just an idiot on the radio talking nonsense. But he was perfect the other night. But another move I think the Astros should make, unrelated to the Yordan return and that corresponding move that will go along with it, it's time to end the experiment with Brendan Rodgers. I know his salary is now locked in for the season, so you'd have to eat the remaining money of that $2 million contract the Astros gave him, and that sucks. But I mean, he's just been abysmal. He's unplayable. Yeah. Like right now, Brendan Rodgers hitting 194 with a 52 OPS plus. If you don't know what OPS plus is, it basically takes your OPS and averages it out to the rest of the league. So 100 is dead average, and he's at a 52, so like half of average. Just by comparison, Martin Maldonado, right? One of the worst hitters we've ever seen. Statistically, he's like the 4th worst hitter of all time by batting average. No joke. That's actually legit. And Brendan Rodgers has been worse than that. Okay, so I pulled it up because Maldi's had 2 stints with the Astros. His last stint, 4 years from 2020 to 2023, Martin Maldonado had a 68 OPS plus over those 4 years. 68. Again, Brendan Rodgers, 52. He is that much worse than Martin Maldonado. I don't care if you have to eat the 1.1 million or 1.3 million or whatever that's left on his contract. Just like Jose Abreu was last year. I mean, look, I get it sucks that you're eating contract. You're paying money for a guy that's not even on the roster, but he's a detriment to your ball club by being on the team. So just get him off the roster. If you're willing to eat Jose Abreu he had like 40 plus million left on his contract at that point. I mean, you only paid Brendan Rodgers $2 million. Obviously, you're 2 months into the season, so I don't see why they wouldn't eat that contract and just move on.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Thank you, John.
At least to Maldi, at least he was a good catcher. Like the pitchers loved him. Like
Brendan Rodgers isn't terrible defensive, but Dubon's better.
Yeah.
So
like we knew Maldi wasn't going to be a hitting catcher, but at least he was doing other things to provide value to the team. Brendan Rodgers, sorry, this is not Colorado. Like I think I mean, I'm at fault for this too, where I was a little excited when we signed him because I knew what he did in Colorado. But Colorado hitting at that stadium, it's different than any other.
Oh, I mean,
hitting anywhere else.
Like, well, I mean, his home road splits while he was in Colorado. I mean, it was just night and day. Like he was a 300 batting average wise, 300 career hitter at home, dropped to 225 on the road. OPS dropped from 811 at home to 622 on the road. I mean, like you said, he's a guy that can never hit outside of Colorado. I didn't mind the Astros, throwing a dart up against the board, seeing if he figures something out. But he hasn't, and you can't play him. So why is he on the roster? Especially since, and look, I don't expect this guy to come up and push for any sort of end of season awards or anything. But Shea Whitcomb down at AAA is absolutely killing it. And it's not the first year he's done this. Right now, he has he leads the PCL, the league that Sugarland Space Cowboys are in, with 18 home runs already. I mean, we're
that's
no,
crazy.
and they started, I think, 1 or 2 weeks after the Astros.
2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks after the Astros, and so 18 home runs already. I mean, it's a crazy pace. And again, not the first time he did this. He had 23 in 2021. He had 35 combined in 2023. And then last year, even though he only spent part of the season AAA because he was up with the Astros for a short stint, he had 25 in that partial season in 2024. So the dude has, look, I don't think he's going to come up and kill it because he didn't last year, but he provides you so much more possible upside. Because Brendan Rodgers, what is his upside? Absolutely nothing.
Nothing at this point.
There's zero, less than zero, negative upside to Brendan Rodgers. Whatever upside you think Shea Whitcomb has, even if that number is small, there's still possible upside because his power. And he's a guy that can play not only second like Brendan Rodgers, but he can play first and third. So you have that one roster spot with the position or the position flexibility to cover 3 defensive spots.
Yeah.
Whereas Brendan Rodgers can only play second. So, I mean, Brendan Rodgers is terrible. Whitcomb is crushing the ball, and he provides you more defensive flexibility. I see this as a no-brainer. Call up Shea Whitcomb.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't really feel like there's an argument to not bring up Whitcomb, especially since he can play multiple positions. We've seen Christian Walker struggle this year at first base.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he can play first base and he can also play second base, where you're getting probably your least amount of offense from not probably. You are getting your
that's
least
the least
amount of offense at second
from any
base.
position.
I mean, what's the point of keeping him down there?
I mean,
what?
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it might just be literally not wanting to admit fault and have egg on the face from letting Brendan Rodgers get past that deadline where you would owe him the rest of his contract. So I mean, maybe it sounds silly, but it could just be Dana Brown not wanting to go to Jim Crane's like, yeah, I know I signed off on keeping Brendan Rodgers and locking this into the rest of his contract, but 2 weeks later I want to get rid of him. It might literally just be that.
But it's a bigger egg
That's
in your face if you
speculative,
keep
but,
him on the team and he keeps
100% agree.
being trashed.
I
Like,
agree,
it's
but
about winning. Like, not. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to put your ego aside, and you see all these other teams making moves and doing things that they need to do to keep winning. I mean, we've already seen all these players like leave the Astros, and they're still in the winning window. So at this point, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, and like you said, what if you cut him, you 1 point.
I'm not going
It's
to
a
try to
small
do the
amount.
live math,
Yeah.
but it was a $2 million contract. You're not quite to the halfway part, so let's call it 1.25.
And that's chump change in
argument's
baseball.
sake.
That's chump change
Of
in
course.
baseball.
Yeah, you're still paying Montero and Jose Abreu way more than that.
And if you can get rid of
more
those
than that.
guys, you can get rid of Brendan Rodgers, who is basically going to be a 1-year rental player.
Yeah, that's all he was ever designed to be. They're taking the swing. I co-signed the swing. I mean, you didn't have much less. You didn't have really anything to lose, but we're at the point of, okay, now let's go ahead and prove that you didn't have anything to lose. You took the shot, it didn't work. Now it's time to move on. Not really time here in this segment to get into Stroud, so I just want to mention one quick thing because it feels like, and look, I'm guilty of this. Really, I think the only person at the station I heard that wasn't guilty of this at some point this season was Joel Blank. So shout out to Joel. I don't think his confidence never really wavered. But I know Jeremy Branham at one point was pretty much kind of not saying it was 100% certainty, but definitely mixing in that there was a strong possibility that this was just a mid-team this year. John Granado at one point called the Astros them entering their Carlos Lee era. I don't remember exactly what I said, but something similar. Like, I didn't think they were going to rebound. Like, I thought this team was just kind of mid. But, I mean, Will Kunkel from Fox put this out on Twitter. So, May 31st last year, May 31st this year. This year, the Astros 31-26 alone in first place in the AL West, which, shout out to AL West, because that would not be the same in the Central or the AL East. They'd be back 5+ in both of those divisions. But first place alone at 31-26 with a run differential of +27. This same time last year, 25-33, 6.5 games back with a -9 run differential. So, I mean, look, I don't know where you're. Well, I'll go ahead and ask the question. Like, I know last year and for part of this year, I think some Astros fans have started to suffer some some lessening of their confidence that they'd had, compared to previous years of this golden era. But where's your confidence level right now that they will finish the season and make the playoffs?
I mean,
If 10 is no doubt in your mind, 1 is obviously the opposite. Where would you put it?
that they make the
Yeah,
playoffs,
that they make the playoffs.
8, 9. I
Yeah,
mean, to me, they're still
I think that's right. Yeah,
I still think that they're a mid team, but they're also not fully healthy.
right. You
So
get Jordan back, you get
yeah,
Arrighetti back.
and they were healthier last year at this time than they are this year, and they're doing better. So I have pretty much all the confidence that they'll make the playoffs. I don't think that they're the caliber to win the World Series.
What about win the AL? Make the World Series. Because I agree
Ooh.
with you. Win the World Series, like I think the Dodgers would boat race them. But like, do you think they could win the AL? Tigers and Yankees obviously have they're like 5.5 and 6.5 games up on the Astros at this point. But how do you think? I mean, if the Tigers obviously swept you on the road last year, in the wild card round, but
I I mean, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I don't think they'll win the AL, but I think I think with the team that we have, them just getting to that AL position is impressive. Like I know I don't want to be like that type of person where it's like, oh, you make the playoffs, it's a win. But I think this year, considering things, I think if you do make the playoffs and you at least get to the division,
you
then
got to win the wild card series. That's
then
right. I mean,
yeah.
I would agree
Oh
with
yeah,
you,
losing the
assuming
wild card, no.
yeah,
But
you can't get knocked out 2-0, 2 and out in the wild card
yeah,
series again. Like that can't happen. But if they were to make, if definitely if they made the ALCS, let's say they make the ALCS and lose to the Yankees in 7, I would consider that a very successful
yeah,
season.
I
But
would.
I mean, I'm with you on their likelihood to make the playoffs. I would probably put like an 8.5, 9. The only thing kind of holding me back, and we've talked about it, I get several times in a non-direct way, but the depth of the starting pitching right now is pretty suspect.
Yeah.
Like you're relying on Lance McCullers of all people, which is a crazy thing to say in 2025. But you're relying on Lance McCullers right now, and probably at least for the next month after this, to be your number 3 starter until Arrighetti gets back. Because Arrighetti's not coming back before July. I would fully
No.
guarantee that. Like he hasn't started, like I mean he's taken off the soft. I think he's taken off the soft cast and played catch, but he's a long ways from actually stepping on a mound in a regular season game.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think they're okay right now. Now they're back in. Like Ryan Gusto is ass. Like he's not good. The numbers bear that out. But I think they can get by with what they have right now, since the offense is not only getting healthier, but guys like Altuve and Christian Walker seemingly are starting to turn it around. But they're like one more starting pitcher injury away from complete disaster. That's kind of what my feeling is right now. Like if they
No,
don't
yeah,
make the playoffs,
I'm with you on that.
that's why. It's going to be because they had another starting pitcher injury and they just couldn't sustain anymore. All right. As promised, we will get to CJ Stroud on the other side of the break, not throwing at Texans OTAs. How concerned are we? That when the bullpen returns, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
Broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, it's the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5. Welcome back into the Bullpen. ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5. Next hour, of course, we will have Mount Rushmore plus one. Plus, in our leftover segment, we're going to have some fun with the war between Pat McAfee and John Cougar Mellencamp. I didn't think I'd be saying that sentence in 2025. But first, Johnny, you saw a question for us from Twitter from probably our most loyal listener, Not Santa. What did Not Santa want to know?
Yeah, Not Santa on X. I also call it Twitter way too much.
Yeah, I know. Whatever.
Asked which return happens first, Jordan returning to the Astros or Sean Mapes returning to the bullpen?
Jordan.
Yeah, I mean it's you ready for this baseball terminology? It's a home run that it'll be Jordan Alvarez. No crickets.
I'll give it a 4 out of 10.
You know what? That's fair. That was pretty bad by me.
Jordan. No, actually, no. Heck, I'll say Jordan coming back and hitting a home run.
Sean will be back. I don't think Sean's next show with us. Actually, it could be next week. Yeah, because
what a scrub, Sean.
No, wait, no. This is the last. This is the last because he's going to be doing the last. Okay, fully pulling back the curtain. He's going to do the last show of each month. That's the plan.
Sean's like
Sean should have been here today.
Yeah, he should have been.
Yeah, Sean's like the Astros injury report. We think he's coming back.
He's got this.
It just keeps getting delayed.
Week.
Yeah.
He's Kyle Tucker. Oh, he's coming back in 3 days.
He's got couchinitis.
Yeah, No, he's probably playing college football 25 right now. Which, I mean, to be fair, I kind of want to be playing college football 25 right now.
With BYU.
But I would guess the next time you hear Sean on this show will be the last episode of June. So
yeah,
I would say Jordan in a landslide.
Yeah, I'll put 1,000 on that.
You put 1,000 on.
Oh, hang on.
Okay.
Monopoly money.
Okay.
Oh, are you thinking about placing the bet, Johnny? Are you thinking of taking that action?
No, but I was curious if anybody else was going to take that action.
Well, now I'm nervous because now if it's an actual bet, Sean's be like, oh, hell no, I'm coming next week.
He's going to cook the numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I already texted him. We're splitting it,
Oh, okay. All right. I see the scheming and the planning going on here. All right. So let's talk about CJ Stroud. That is, I think, unfortunately for this part of the calendar, that it constitutes as news right now because there's nothing else going on in the NFL. The draft is done. Most of the first-round picks are signed, and we're not actually getting to real practice. They don't even have their pads on. It's just, the jerseys and the helmets. So, but, got to have something to talk about on May 31st. So we're talking about CJ Stroud not throwing. So the weird part about it was initially they seemed to go kind of full Astros on us, where they weren't willing to tell us what was going on. Just that, well, he's on his own schedule. What the hell does that mean? Like, okay, he's on his own schedule, but is he on his own schedule because something's going on and that's delaying his schedule? But they weren't going to telling us. But now from Aaron Wilson, and his reporting on this has changed. Like the initial tweet said it was a pec injury. Now they're saying it's a shoulder injury. But from Aaron Wilson of KPRC2, Stroud not throwing due to tight shoulder muscle, not considered serious, quote, no concerns whatsoever from his source. So I guess 1 to 10, Cam and Johnny, weigh in. How concerned are you about CJ Stroud? 10 being you're flipping out.
1.
1? Okay.
It's May.
One more day.
It is literally May.
For one more day.
I do not care.
See, I can't look. I am with you that I'm below a 5, right? Like I think my overall prevailing thought on this is far too early to get concerned about anything. Because even if he is dealing with something, and clearly he's dealing with something, we don't know the severity of it. Although Aaron Wilson tells us it's not considered worrisome. But he's dealing with something to the point of he's not going to throw. Because if everything was 100%, he would be throwing. So we have to start from the point of something is at least slightly wrong. But if it is indeed only slightly wrong, he's got all of June, all of July, August, into September before he's playing in a regular season game. So even if, he's obviously got something going on, whether it be the pec, whether it be the shoulder, whatever it is. But if it is indeed minor, then I think there's plenty of times where he recovers from whatever it is, and there is no concern. Here's where I do have some concern, though, and why I wouldn't go as low as you did at a 1. I would probably put it like a 3, and maybe that's too panicky, but that's kind of where I'm at, is we saw him in the Ravens game on Christmas Day, that bludgeoning that the Ravens gave the Texans. I forget who hit him, but he got tackled in a way where he fell on his shoulder, and you could tell he was dealing with something the rest of the game. And he had a comment a little bit after that. I forget before what game. It was like media availability between games, where he talked about dealing with some things, and then he kind of doubled back later. It's like, oh no, I didn't really mean that. I'm fine. And then remember how the playoff game ended. It was his lower body, not his upper body. But one of the last 2 or 3 plays of the game, he gets hit and he was limping big time. And we never really heard a follow-up on that. Was it, at least I didn't. Was it his knee? Was it his ankle? How severe was it? So I think this could be, maybe it's something as minor as the Texans just don't want him to do much right now, because last season, the amount of sacks he took, he was pressured at a rate that was higher than Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. And we saw how much the Eagles pass rush destroyed the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. CJ Stroud faced pressure worse than that every single game of the year. So maybe this is something as simple as last year he got his ass kicked. So Stroud, come in, take it easy for the first few weeks. We'll see you in the end of July for training camp. That's kind of where I'm leaning right now.
I feel like if it was more of a concern, we would have heard about it. But
I don't know if the Texans, because they're not mandated. See, I hear what you're saying, but they're not mandated to tell you anything right now. Not until the regular season.
Yeah, they're not. But I still feel like somehow it would be leaked.
It would get leaked.
It would get leaked, because I feel like the NFL does that more than baseball. Like, I feel like NBA and NFL, like, a lot more stuff when it comes to like injuries and like off court things get leaked more than baseball.
Right.
So that's why I don't have really, if it was like August, then my concern level would be higher than a 5. But the fact that it is May 31st and he hasn't thrown yet, like, it just, I'm not ready at all to get close to panicking with him.
No, yeah, I certainly think it's too quick to panic. It's just one of those things, kind of,
and then
it's just something to watch. Yeah, okay, it's not a big deal now. My question is, 1, how severe is it? We don't know. We're not going to get the answer on that. And 2, like, when does it become something that we're concerned about? Like, to me, if they open training camp, which will be late July, I don't know the exact date. I don't care enough to look that up. But if they open training camp, let's call it July 27th, and he's not throwing, I'm going to be a little concerned.
Then I'll be concerned. Yeah. But that is almost 2 months.
Almost 2 months.
That is almost 2 months away. And we see this in the NFL, where veteran players, star players, sometimes they don't always go out there for stuff like that. And there was the same thing with the Joe Mixon concern last year when he wasn't practicing, and then what happened? Start of the season, he was
unbelievable,
ready to go
until he kept getting horse collar tackled.
Yeah, exactly. So it just whatever. Let Davis Mills get his reps in. Let Graham Mertz get his reps in.
Oh God, don't say. There was another name that popped up that I had never even heard of.
Kedon Slovis.
Yes.
Let him get his reps in.
Johnny, on my quick start 2 page, there's a Conor McGregor. Who is that guy? That is who. Say that name one more time. Who was that? Who was that 4th quarterback you talked about?
Hey mate, who's Kedon Slovis?
Oh, it's okay. That's okay.
I know what you're talking about with the Conor McGregor. That was the Draymond Green back and forth where he walked into
Draymond Green. Not Draymond Green.
Oh, I'm talking about the Draymond Green thing where Conor McGregor wore a Warriors jersey a couple years ago, and Draymond Green put it on his Instagram and was like, "Hey man, we're not rocking with you. We're rocking with Mayweather." And Conor commented back and was like, "Hey man, this is a CJ Watson jersey. Who are you?" to Draymond Green.
No, the quote was from like some dude at a presser for a fight. But yeah, I remember, because apparently that guy threw a touchdown pass to Jaden Higgins in their 7-on-7 or 11-on-11 drills, and I saw the name. It was like something Slovis. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I literally had the Conor McGregor quote of, "Who the is that guy like running
I
through
have
my head?
no
I
idea.
have never heard. Like I consider myself a pretty diehard football fan. I watch the NFL, I watch college football. I obsess over fantasy football. I know names that I shouldn't know. I have no idea who the Slovis guy was.
He's
so,
from BYU.
Okay. Was he the starting quarterback this last year?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Who the f is that guy?
There it is. Yeah. Who the is that guy? Yeah. Yeah.
I would have thought that was like a Swedish chef or something. If I didn't have my computer in front of me, I would have just been like,
What was one more time? What was his name, Kim?
Keaton Slovis.
Oh my god.
He went to USC, Pitt, and BYU.
Okay, so he's the Ryan Fitzpatrick of college football. He's just journeying himself all around the sport.
I do apologize. I think he was a starter for BYU last year.
Was he?
Eight games, 1,700 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions.
Yeah. Okay.
Reason why he's the
I stand by the Conor McGregor cut. Those are not impressive numbers. All right, on the other side of the break, we got to get out. It's already 1 o'clock here. Johnny's going to get mad at us. We'll talk a little more Texans and some NFL as well, including some little minor news and notes from OTA, because no news can be major unless there's a seasoning injury at OTAs. But there are some things going on with the offensive line and some of the performances from guys you know, like Will Anderson and Kamari Lassiter. We'll talk about the other side of the break. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome back in. Hour number 2 of the Bullpen, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Brian McDonald, Cam Smith, John Belmer with you here for the next hour. Again, coming up at Mount Rushmore plus one, 1:30. No, coming up at 1:30, Mount Rushmore plus one. And we were planning on talking Texans here, or at least some NFL type topics, but we're going to have to take a left turn because news broke after the show started. Sorry, we were probably a segment late to this, but it broke after the show started. And admittedly, I don't look at Twitter a lot during the show because I'm trying to focus on the conversation. But Dana Brown has given us a troubling, I'm going to label this as troubling, Cam. I'm getting the secondhand this information, but from the reports I'm seeing, I am not happy right now. And we will get into that. But first, let's hear from Astros general manager Dana Brown with this update on Yordan Alvarez's injured hand.
He took some swings. He hit a couple balls out, hit a few balls opposite field, line drives. Looked pretty good, but still felt a little bit of discomfort. So what we decided to do was, okay, if it still feels you feel that discomfort, let's just go get more imaging. We went and got more imaging yesterday, and because of all the inflammation and fluid was gone, we were able to see that he has a 60% healed, very small fracture.
This franchise, for all the great things they've done, the dynastic run that you could say started in 2015, definitely by 2017, best 10-year stretch in franchise history. You could probably label them a dynasty and call them the best team in baseball by 2017.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, a complete 180. I almost want Johnny to have the dump button ready, because they have the dumbest mother bleeping medical staff in front office. Like I don't know how they can be that good on the field and be that bleeping incompetent when it comes to taking care of the most important player in their franchise. This team, look, they've got a lot of other talented players. We talked about Framber. Altuve's going to go in the Hall of Fame one day. No one's more important to their chances of winning another World Series than Yordan Alvarez. And they let Yordan Alvarez go and take batting practice yesterday without re-looking at his hand before he goes out to do so. Oh, he's a little sore, so we did imaging on it again. It turns out his hand's broken. Are you bleeping kidding me?
I'm about to have
I'm trying not to
apoplexy.
freak out now, but how do you let Yordan Alvarez go out and take batting practice and he's got a damn broken hand?
Because he's 60% healed, Brian.
I
I don't get it.
I drive by billboards, and look, this is not a shot at Memphis at all. It's just kind of funny. But I drive by billboards, and there's the commercials for it's like get medicine the way that our athletes do it, and it's got Yordan Alvarez on the damn side, and they're not looking at his hand. Like, okay, all right. Let's rewind it back before I completely lose it and cause Johnny to hit the dumb button again. I didn't, though. One of us has today, not me. All right. Bragging,
Who?
pat on the back. Okay. Anyway, back to Yordan. So his last game is on May 2nd. Let's think about this from the timeline perspective. His last game's on May 2nd. He gets hurt. The Astros tell us, well, it's a minor injury. No imaging is required. 3 days later, they go back and look at it, right? So one off, start there. They misdiagnosed it to the point where they didn't even look at imaging. Again, they have X-ray machines in their building. They misdiagnosed it so badly that they missed a broken hand and didn't X-ray it, right? They then decide, oh, well, we should get some imaging done, get the X-ray done, at which point I assume they probably did notice there was a broken hand, which explains why he's been out for this long, and didn't tell us, which putting the oh, you should tell us things aside, it's just like they knew it, didn't report it, told us it was minor. You flash forward, so there's no way if you decide to go back in and look at imaging 3 days after the injury, you wouldn't see that there's a broken hand, right? I'm not a medical doctor, but I would assume he hurts his hand, you tell us there's no imaging required. 3 days later, you decide to get imaging because it's hurting and it's not maybe healing in the way you'd want. You go back and do the imaging, the broken hand would have to appear, right?
It does. And I look again.
Hold on. Sorry, not to cut you off.
No,
Before we get there, so I say that to establish that when you get that initial imaging 3 days after the injury, you would have discovered a broken hand. How in the F do you not go back? Like, he's dealing with a broken hand. How do you not go back and do a follow-up imaging before you okay him for batting practice?
Yeah.
The incompetence is mind-boggling.
I don't get it. And again, I'm not going to compare myself to a professional athlete, but I have fractured my hand before. And in the time, there is immense swelling to where you can't go through imaging. But if 2 days later I can go get imaging and see that I have a fracture and I'm just me, Cameron Smith, there's no way in hell that you can let that slide with Jordan, especially like you mentioned how they have all these professional medical trainers and stuff like that. Like this is just craziness. Like I don't really have
Yeah, like
words
so I've
for
torn, not to compare myself to a professional athlete, because look at my body, not a professional athlete. But I've torn my ACL. Okay.
Ooh.
So, and to second what you said, like there are cases where you may have to wait to see certain things because
Yeah.
of the swelling.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's even play out that scenario to give the Astros the most benefit of doubt possible, although they clearly don't deserve that. Hashtag Kyle Tucker, hashtag Christian Javier, hashtag 1,000
The
other
list goes on.
examples. Yeah. So let's say that's okay. So they tell us initially, oh, it's fine. It's a minor injury. It doesn't require imaging, which, not to belabor the point, you have an x-ray machine in your damn building. Go down the hall. I don't care if you think it's not necessary. Just go look. But putting that aside, you think it's minor, so you don't have the imaging. You then 3 days later think it does, the level of concern does rise to a point of let's get some imaging. Let's play out your scenario. Okay, it's too swollen. They couldn't see it. So what? Between then, that would have been like May 5th or 6th, and now they just don't look at it again?
Well, here, there's a little bit of context here.
Okay.
So there's a clip here where he talks specifically about this, what you guys are discussing here, about them missing it initially and then being able to see it later.
Yeah, okay, please. You have that
I'll
clip?
play it for you. Yeah.
Okay.
So the muscle strain was real. I really think that when he was fighting through those weeks, knowing that it wasn't the same feeling as some of his hand problems in the past, that he was just trying to fight through it, and maybe that's when, he may have caused a little bit more damage. And so we didn't see it, of course, in the May 6th, I think it was, imaging, because of all the inflammation and all of the fluid. But now that it's subsided and it started to heal, we can see in this most recent image that there was calcium buildup, which tells us that there was a fracture.
I see.
And now I'm getting all the alerts from like CBS, ESPN, all that sort of stuff where
Okay.
Jordan's going to continue to be sidelined due to
Okay.
a found fracture. How?
Okay. So that clip, in my opinion, made it worse for Dana Brown. I don't know how you feel about this campus.
Because he was so nonchalant about it.
Well,
we missed it, of course. Oh, no big deal. Bitch, no big deal.
So he talks about, okay, there's a different injury, but in the course of dealing with that injury, he kind of like you, like if you hurt your right foot and you overcompensate, you might hurt your left foot because you're putting more pressure on it, right? That sort of stuff does happen. But that's kind of the exact same thing they told us, the lie they told us last year about Kyle Tucker. Like, oh, it really was a bone bruise. Oh, but then it happened to turn into a fracture. Not that they misdiagnosed it from to start with, but it was, oh, what we told you was true, and just, it developed. They're telling us the same lie once again. So that part of it pisses me off. The other part of that follow-up from Dana Brown that pisses me off is, it kind of goes along the lines of what you were talking about earlier. Well, maybe there's too much inflammation to see it initially, which is kind of what Dana Brown said there. Like we had to, like we took the initial X-ray on May 6th. We didn't see it, and we found in this follow-up X-ray that there was calcium build that told us, or like calcium buildup to tell us there was a fracture, right? That there implies between May 6th and presumably yesterday, they didn't look at it again.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Because at some point between May 6th and yesterday, the inflammation and swelling would have subsided to a point where they could have seen something. And I don't know, maybe the point to do that was before they started taking batting practice yesterday.
And my thing is how does a muscle strain turn into a fracture from just doing batting
I don't
practice?
know.
I don't think it does.
Hashtag not a doctor, but that doesn't sound right.
No.
And I don't even watch medical shows. Not only am I not a doctor, but I don't even watch medical shows, Chicago Med or whatever bullcrap is on TV. But that doesn't sound right. Just like the whole thing with Kyle Tucker last year Because look, a lot of these similarities are the same, right? With Kyle Tucker, they initially told us they didn't need to do imaging. They told us like he got hurt on a Tuesday. They told us he'd be back 3 days later on a Friday. And then all of a sudden, oh wait, now we do have to do imaging. What happened with Jordan? He got hurt on the 2nd. They told us no imaging was required. May 6th, now they're getting imaging. They told us with Kyle Tucker, it's a bone bruise. Oh wait, we found out later upon further looking, it was a fracture.
Yeah.
What are they doing Jordan Alvarez? They told us that it's a muscle strain that when we went back and looked at later, turned out to be a bone break. Are you seeing a trend here?
It's like they don't want to know. They don't want to find out the worst case scenario. It's like people that don't want to go to the doctor because it's like, oh, I don't want to find out if I have something wrong with me. It's like that's what the Astros are doing. We don't want to go through imaging.
I think it's worse than that because they are they're sort of looking and they're just incompetent.
Yeah.
Like to further the comparisons between the two, there was a report. So Kyle Tucker got hurt like it was like June 2nd, June 3rd. Forgive me if I'm off by a day or two. But there was a report like end of June that said, "Oh, he's back on the treadmill, resuming running. Things are on schedule." Then they had to go back and tell us that he wasn't running, and then he still ended up being out for like another month and a half. Isn't that kind of similar to what they're telling us now with Jordan, where they thought he was healthy enough to resume batting practice? Joe Espada in that clip we played earlier in the show kind of joked about there's a chance he could have played yesterday, and now. After that, they're saying, "Oh wait, no, actually, there's a fracture that's only 60% healed."
Yeah. Just as we take first place, and we're over here talking about, "Oh, Jordan's about to be back. This is gonna be good."
As good as the Astros have been
And
on the field
now.
since 2017, they have been as comically a clown show off the field in terms of their medical evaluations and their treatment of injuries to their athletes.
This is like when the Chargers medical doctor stabbed Tyrod Taylor.
It punctured his lung.
And I thought that was the worst. But
if the Astros had treated Tyrod Taylor, he might have died.
Yeah.
he might have died.
Yeah.
They would have told us, "Oh no, he just got some bruising." Meanwhile, his lungs collapsing, he can't
because
breathe.
the doctor stabbed him. Yeah,
because the doctor stabbed him through. I think we're about to get a phone call here, so we'll hang on for a second before we go to break.
Is it Dana Brown?
Oh, please let it be Dana Brown. No, I don't think so. We might need to make a future Mount Rushmore +1. Actually, we're probably just going to go to break here. We got multiple calls. So Johnny, let's go to. We got another caller on line one calling, and we'll take both of those when we get back on the other side of the break. This is ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5, talking about the Jordan Alvarez revelation with this hand injury. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back and take your calls.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Welcome back in ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5, talking about the latest in the Yordan Alvarez hand injury situation. Took batting practice yesterday, and now GM Dana Brown telling us he has a fracture that's only 60% healed and will still be back, quote, soon. But obviously that timetable has been extended from what we thought could be just a couple days from now. And breaking news here, Cam. You and I are not medical doctors, so we might have gotten a detail. Now, I think overall our criticism of the Astros is fair, but we might have got some medical details like really wrong. And to help correct us on that, we have someone that called into the HRP listener line, and you can call in as well or text 713-780-3776. But we have Dr. Kevin Smith, who Johnny tells us is an orthopedic surgeon who wants to set us straight on a few things. Dr. Kevin Smith, welcome to the show.
Yeah, hey guys, I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yeah, we hear you fine.
But, okay. Yeah, so just to be completely honest, I have not treated nor seen any of Yordan Alvarez's imaging, but what typically happens in these situations is an initial x-ray will be obtained. An x-ray will just show the outlines of the bone, and if there's a displaced fracture, that's easily recognizable on the x-ray. But when they keep saying there's additional imaging that's done, that would be in the form of either a CT scan versus an MRI, most likely an MRI. And an MRI shows the bones. It also shows the soft tissues, the tendons, ligaments, muscles, in a whole lot more detail than what an X-ray will. But just from what's been described, at least what I could look up in reports, is that they were describing it as a muscle or a tendon type issue. There's probably some inflammation of the tendon as it inserts on the bone. If there's evidence of a fracture, again, a displaced fracture of the harder part of the outside part of the bone, that would be evidence on the MRI. But it sounds like probably the initial x-rays were negative. They got an MRI to be extra cautious, and then that likely came back negative from a bony injury. And when they say they got additional imaging later, that probably would have been, again, another x-ray versus getting another MRI or a CT scan. If they're seeing some extra bone that's being deposited, that's going to be what we call callus, which is bone formation. And we do see that, not uncommonly, where there's a non-displaced fracture that we get screening x-rays for. And then, a few weeks later, as the body starts the healing process, you can see some extra calcium deposits. From what's being described, at least when I've read, on online articles and things, there's not anything I can understand can be frustrating from a fan standpoint. But he's being treated, appropriately with these situations. Sometimes it can be frustrating that
Sorry. Apologies, Mr. Smith. The line is cutting up. Let me try to ask a question here, but the line, unfortunately, actually, Johnny, can you go ahead and put him on hold? See if he can get off. It sounds like he might be on a speakerphone or Bluetooth, and we'll try to go back to him here in a second. But look, I think as the doctor was explaining to us, kind of the process of initial evaluation to follow up to some of the things they found yesterday. I mean, there is, I think, a plausible explanation of maybe it was initially a muscle strain. Or do we have Dr. Smith back? Okay, I can't hear Johnny if he's talking.
Well, and to his point, I kind of went through a similar scenario 2 years ago when I fractured, dislocated, and tore tendons in my elbow.
Mm-hmm.
When I initially went through the x-rays the day after the incident happened, all they thought they saw was a dislocation and some tendon tear. And then when the healing or when the swelling went down a week and a half, 2 weeks later, they sent me to an orthopedic. I think it was Methodist orthopedic, and they did like a full CT scan and everything. And then
Right.
that's when they found
the other. Yeah.
But And that's when they found the dislocation.
that-
so
yeah,
I get that there's a
that's definitely
time
a
where you
possibility.
can see it,
And
but this is me. This is not Jordan Alvarez and a month later.
sure.
So
So, Dr. Kevin Smith, I'm told you're back with us here. So, if I can ask you follow up on this again, because Cam and I
Sure.
clearly not doctors, as we've made abundantly clear with how we went through that last conversation. But I guess my thought process, as I heard you speak, and it sounds one of the things Dana Brown said in the clip we played before you came on, and I'm curious if I heard you right. It sounds like you're backing what he said there. So it is possible for, like, if Jordan Alvarez initially had some sort of muscle strain in his hand, in for that to then turn into fracture through the recovery process. That seems to be what Dana Brown told us. Is that something that checks out to you from your medical expert opinion?
I mean, from what to me, it sounds like they saw some inflammation, and on an MRI, that'll show up. It'll light up a little bit brighter on some of the sequences of the MRI, as well as be evident with the soft tissue swelling. If that happens right at the edge where the tendon inserts on the bone, then it could be possible that that could obstruct it a little bit. But that part's not entirely clear. I wish I knew exactly which bone that it was that was affected. With baseball players, there's a lot of small bones within what we call the carpals within the wrist, and there's one that is not entirely uncommon with baseball players called the hook of the hamate. And I want to postulate or theorize on what exactly is going on, but some of these smaller bones in there, there's a lot of ligaments and tendons that attach, and it's certainly possible you could have some irritation in there that may not be abundantly clear, with the first line imaging. And if we're talking about a bigger fracture of metacarpal or something that you may see with like fighters and boxers having these types of injuries, those are not going to be missed typically. So I think assuredly we're talking about one of the very smaller bones within the wrist, or maybe even the tip of one of the smaller bones within the wrist.
So, doctor, follow up on that. And I know we don't know exactly which bone it was, so maybe this would be difficult to speculate on. But the Astros told us they got imaging done on May 6th. His last game was on May 2nd. And clearly or at least we're led to believe they missed in that initial scan the handbrake that they then saw yesterday. If it is one of these smaller bones you were talking about, and I know every athlete's different, the swelling would be different, then the timeline would be different. But how long would you expect to be able to have to wait to be able to see something like that with imaging?
Yeah, usually it can be a few weeks. Without question. Usually a few weeks until it shows up on the X-ray. Most bones are going to heal within 6 to 8 weeks. Just other bones are out throughout the body, but it does take usually a few weeks for even a non-displaced fracture to start the healing process and then show some of that bony deposition, as they were saying, the calcium deposits. Usually on X-rays, that's going to show up, several weeks later. But typically, the MRI is going to be able to pick that up a little bit sooner.
Gotcha. So, one more quick question before we let you go. I think most of the fan frustration, our frustration here in the show, is seemingly it seems like the Astros and their medical staff at times, at least from what they tell us, because obviously they're not telling us the full story, seem to skip steps at time. If that can be, if that is a fair comment, I just from the layman, from the non-medical expert here in this studio, it would seem like if Jordan Alvarez was my patient, we knew he hurt his hand, and I would want to look at the hand again before he was cleared for on-field activities. Is it odd to you that the Astros would clear him to take batting practice yesterday, only to find out a day later there was a fracture? Would there not be some sort of imaging done before he's returned to play?
I mean, again, I don't want to speculate. I suspect there probably was some imaging done. Honestly, that may not be being disclosed. But I mean, typically, if you have an X-ray and then subsequent MRI either that day or a day after an injury like that, if the swelling goes down, range of motion goes down, strength comes back, and everything seems like they're over it, or the athlete or our patients are over it, then we wouldn't necessarily automatically get another X-ray or MRI for most regular patients. Now, obviously, Jordan Alvarez is a high-level, professional athlete, and I know in my practice we're, much more diligent. Well, I say diligent. We tend to be over cautious at times and order additional imaging for our athletes just to make sure that everything's good. So there's probably more to the story. They're probably, I'm sure, we're checking on him daily. After they're starting to get back to return to throwing or hitting. And if there wasn't any swelling or any other concern for, continuing for the injury to be, going on, then, I would say a lot of times you would get some additional imaging, but it's hard to speculate. And, I know those guys down there that take care of them are really good. And, I wouldn't personally judge or criticize their handling. I just think there's probably a lot more to the story than what's being released to the media.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I think that last point is probably what causes a lot of the frustration, just because we get such an incomplete picture of what's going on. Then when there is an update like we have today, that creates, a lot of questions that are difficult for the Astros to answer. And I don't know how much you followed the Kyle Tucker thing last year, but I think that also adds to it, where you have different timelines of, oh, he's running on a treadmill. Oh, he's going to be back in 3 days. Oh, he has a hairline or a bone bruise. And then it turns into a fracture that costs him 3 months. So I think the Astros, with the way they tell us things, have just not maybe bought themselves a lot of benefit of the doubt. But I appreciate you weighing in there and setting us straight on a few things, Dr. Kevin Smith.
We should have him on more often.
Hey, no worries. Happy to help, guys. Go Astros, and listen to the show and all that. So great job, guys.
Appreciate
and,
it. Hey, we do shows Monday through Friday. So if you want to call in during my show 3 to 6, we'll certainly have some questions on Jordan Alvarez. So don't be a stranger. Thank you, Dr. Kevin Smith. All right. When we get back on the other side of the break, we will stop talking about the unfun things with the Jordan Alvarez hand injury and something that took over the last 30 minutes of the show, and get into the fun and frivolity of Mount Rushmore +1. Don't go anywhere. Welcome in, Houston, to the best part of your weekend. Welcome into the award-winning, groundbreaking, sports radio landscape-changing segment, Mount Rushmore Plus One, that'll land Cam, John, Sean, and I, less Sean now, he doesn't come on the show much, in the Texas Radio Hall of Fame in far less than the 27 years it took those bums on the morning show to get there. I'm calling my shot now. Over under 12 and a half years from the Texas Radio Hall of Fame. Johnny, you going over under there?
Under, baby.
Under, damn right. Damn right. I'd ask Cam, but he was late today, so he doesn't get the vote. All right, so you know what, Cam? You were late today, so why don't you go first with your Mount Rushmore Plus One?
Wow, so honored. So
I wouldn't want to delay it and have you be late again and just miss the segments.
Okay, so
I kid because I love
my topic of discussion today.
That was so formal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I still have 3 days left of school, so I have to.
HISD.
HISD sucks.
Man, shout out.
Just kidding. I love you, HISD.
Don't fire me.
So this comes from we were actually discussing, me and a few of my coworkers and our students yesterday. We're talking about little different things, and one of the topics that came up was if we could create a holiday. What would the holidays be?
Sure.
So some of these, I'm gonna say, are not mine.
Are some of these are student suggestions?
Two of them are student suggestions. Okay. So I'm gonna give my props to some.
So if we get canceled, you're gonna blame the students.
Absolutely.
Okay, fair. All right.
They'll be fine. They have many more years left to
yeah,
live.
But we won't. We'll be canceled.
Yeah,
right.
Whatever. I'm fine. So the first
Tread
one,
lightly, sir.
The first one is Eat Free Day.
Okay.
So you get to go out, all the restaurants, gas stations
now, who
that have
pays
food.
for this though? Not our.
It doesn't
concern.
matter.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
Nobody's paying
I'm thinking
for it.
too much.
Nobody's paying for it because it is free.
Yeah, but the restaurants are paying for it.
You got to eat the cost. Sorry. You got to eat.
I'm sure the restaurant industry will love this idea, Cam.
I mean,
continue. Sorry.
I get your eating costs, but it's also promotional value because if people are able to come eat your food and it's a top end place or maybe like a small business,
lose a lot of money.
Yeah. Again, this is just So Eat Free Day.
I mean, you did once run or still run like a food service business. I'm surprised you would support this.
We still do catering, but pretty much we liquidated.
And you're supporting? Okay, never mind.
That's why I'm down for it. It doesn't hurt me anymore.
All right, keep going.
The next one, Free Toll Day.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm down with this for sure.
This
hurts no one. This hurts no one.
I don't personally.
I guess technically the tolls fund things, but whatever.
I personally don't have to take the toll, but I know that there are people that have to take multiple tolls a day. So I think that this would be good for them. Free check-in your bags at the airport day.
This is very specific.
Especially since now that Southwest is no longer allowing free check-ins.
Yeah.
So
maybe this should just be like everyone gets one voucher per year. Because like if you made it a day, then everyone would have to schedule their travel on one day, and then we'd have like overbooks, and like I think that would create more of a headache than it would be worth.
I mean, if you do it on like a random day, like Tuesday of like March, like there might not be a lot of people that can travel on that day.
I guess.
I can't.
Well, no, I mean those for different reasons.
Yeah.
Hashtag paycheck.
The next one, Free Gas Day.
Hell yeah.
Which obviously I know that's gonna cause a lot of issues at the gas stations and waiting in line.
The lines might look like the 70s when the gas price or crisis hit.
And then the next one, and this was a student, which I mean, this is a lot of us can kind of already do this if we have a day off.
Okay.
But it's basically they said like sleep day, free rest day.
See, that's a very student suggestion.
Everybody is supposed to you're not supposed to do anything.
That's a very I don't have any responsibilities type.
And that's what I said. I was like, well, some of us that work, technically that's like our Sunday. We don't do anything.
Yeah.
But I get if it's like a national like little holiday where everybody's just like, nope, we're all just chilling together. No work. You're not supposed to do anything.
So the entire country shuts down for a day.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Watch the restaurant industry try to put free food day on the free rest day.
It's not allowed. It's not allowed.
Or maybe that's the day that the oil industry puts free gas day.
Yeah, there you go.
Because you're not going out because you're staying home.
Well,
sleeping.
I mean, technically, free food day would work on day free or
oh yeah, because you could
chill
DoorDash
day
it.
because you still have to eat.
Yeah, you could DoorDash.
You still have to eat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. All right, I'll go ahead and go next because mine's sportsy and Johnny's. I know what Johnny's kind of relates to, and I don't want my sportsy one to follow that one because his is going to be silly. All right, so I heard Dell, it was on the morning show. I think it was Dell that said this. Refer to a quarterback as an NPC. And for those who are not down with video game lingo, NPC stands for non-playable character. Basically, like talking smack and calling the quarterback a non-playable character. And I thought that was a good way. I thought that was a funny line, a good way to describe a bad quarterback as non-playable character. So my Mount Rushmore +1 are the most NPC quarterbacks in the league right now. Now, I tried to find guys with like no traits, right? You could be a Justin Fields and not an accurate passer, but you can run really well, right? He has a trait. Will Levis doesn't know where the ball is going, but he has a cannon, right? He can get it 80 yards down the field. He has a trait. These guys, they got no traits, right? These are total NPCs that you would run over your car in GTA 5 because they have no redeemable qualities. All right. So with that set up, first one, backup quarterback for the Jaguars in division, Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins,
Mississippi State,
right on the money.
He's got nothing going for him. Like I know he started a few games in San Francisco a few years ago, but man, that guy's got nothing going for him. Next one, Drew Lock. Like, is anyone ever excited if Drew Lock gets in the game? He was in Denver, he was in Seattle, he's in with the Giants now, and he immediately lost his job to Jameson into Russell Wilson.
He was a fan favorite in Denver when he did that little dance, but that was about
the little shoulder.
Yeah,
he
that
did
was his moment.
He did that at Missouri too, and then he got mocked by Tom Herman because they lost the Texas Bowl in a game where the punter won MVP. I digress. Drew Lock was the quarterback of a Missouri team that lost a bowl game to a team who the MVP was the punter. Okay, that's what Drew Lock is.
Crazy.
Next one on my list after Nick Mullins and Drew Lock, literally every single Steeler on their quarterback depth chart. I mean, Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, Skylar Thompson, all NPCs. Every Steeler quarterback. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers will ever sign there. He's not an NPC, but right now they've got 3 guys in the roster, all of them non-playable characters. Last two, my Mount Rushmore +1 of NPC quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett, speaking of Steelers, now with the Browns. But
you just don't like him because he has small hands.
That's right. He's a non-playable character. No traits, small hands. I'd run him over in GTA. Last on the list, and I think this. I don't think anyone will. Speaking of BYU, or did he play? Yeah, he played at BYU.
Zach Wilson.
I knew it. Is an NPC. I think he's the most.
His mom's more of a playable character than he is.
100%. I would 100%. Okay.
I would not.
I'm gonna be careful with my phrasing here, but yes, he's now a backup quarterback for Miami, which means he's going to play because Tua gets hurt. We know Tua gets hurt. So I mean, technically, Zach Wilson will play, but he is a total non-playable character. All right, Johnny, your Mount Rushmore +1, sir.
Okay, I'll be quick. I think Jalen Ramsey would call every single quarterback on your list trash.
Yeah,
by the way,
trash-ass quarterback.
I'll be quick to mine. Mine's a little sportsy too, a little silly, but a little sportsy. I seen a video this week of a bat dog running out to do its job, but then stopping to take a pit stop and doing a number 2 on the field.
Yep.
And it got me thinking about my favorite animal interference moments in sports. So this is
I've got one right away that I hope is on your list.
Yeah, well, I didn't do any that animals died. So if you're thinking of Randy Johnson,
I was thinking Randy Johnson, the bird.
It's the first one that comes to everybody's.
I mean, come on, that's one of the best videos ever.
It is.
R.I.P. to the bird.
R.I.P. to the bird. Yeah, I didn't want to do any of the animals wrong, so nobody dies in this.
Is this a disclaimer for PETA?
Yeah, there you go.
No animals were hurt during the making of the bullpen today.
Number 5. I don't know what year this was, but it was a golf tournament on live TV. A seagull flies up, comes down, picks up the guy's golf ball that was on the green, and then as it flies away, drops it into the water. You see, my thing would be that he would have to keep. Like that stroke would count like that. Yeah. He's in the water now. Too bad.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Bad. No, we got to move on.
You don't think so,
We got to move on. Keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'll be
You're
quick.
wrong, Cam. Keep going.
Number 4, 1988 game between the Kings and the Canadians in the NHL. Somebody threw a live chicken onto the ice, which was hilarious, and it had a little cape on, a little blue cape on. Is to protest something, but absolutely hilarious.
I think the point was lost on everybody.
Yeah,
they just saw a chicken with a cape running around the ice.
How do you smuggle a live chicken into the stadium? Anyways, number 3, Yankees pitcher Jabba Chamberlain trying to pitch in the 2007
Oh, the
ALDS
bees, right?
with literal bugs on his face, neck, and arms. He's just
Oh,
covered
that's
in
right. It
bugs.
wasn't the bees. It's like the flies.
It
or
wasn't
something.
bugs. It was a little small, like gnat bug.
Gnats.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
was.
Were they
But
playing the Washington Nationals?
Oh my God. Oh, Cam, show yourself. Oh, we got 1%.
Yeah,
Go show
show
yourself
yourself
out
out.
yet.
Number 2, in 2009, a pigeon joined the Raiders kickoff team. Do y'all remember this?
No.
So a player, a recent player, actually, a linebacker named Marquise Cooper had passed away earlier that year.
Okay.
This pigeon came on the field during the game and sort of lined up. True story. You can watch the video.
I'm sorry, did you say his pigeon?
No, a pigeon.
Oh.
Lined up
It's not
in
Mike Tyson's situation.
in similar place where he would, and then flew down the field with the team and like got in,
12th man on
like
the
played
field.
contain and everything. Listen to the announcers; they're like shocked that this bird literally played its position. It's kind of crazy. And then number 1, this is my favorite thing on this list by far. 2021, Victor Robles on the Nationals had the praying mantis on his hat. Have you seen the video?
Yeah.
He 2 outs in the inning, and he lets the right fielder know it's 2 outs, lets the left fielder know there's 2 outs, and then lets the praying mantis know, looking straight up into the hat, that there's 2 outs in the game. Best moment, animal interference in sports.
That's right.
I mean-
Johnny couldn't bring up Randy Johnson destroying that bird because
No,
PETA would
we
be on
we
his
talked
ass.
about the beginning of the thing. Like I mean, that's the best one ever. But I get it. We don't want to get we already got a call from an orthopedic surgeon today. We don't get a call from PETA because we're talking about we're pro killing birds. We're not trying to start that conversation. But all right, 1 segment left. When we get back, we got to talk about this instead of what we usually do with the worst person in sports and what we love from sports this week. We're going to instead pivot to this back and forth with Pat McAfee and rock icon, sort of, John Cougar Mellencamp. It's hilarious. We'll get to that next. Other side of the break. Bullpen, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
All right, ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5. It is the Bullpen. Brian, Cam, and Johnny Belmer are here with you. And we'll have to get to this quickly instead of our worst person in sports and what we love from sports this week. You're hearing right now one of the corny songs from John Cougar Mellencamp, because they're basically all cheesy, corny, like, oh, ain't this America? As he say, ain't that America right there. So I didn't expect to see a Pat McAfee, John Cougar Mellencamp back and forth this week, but that is what we got thanks to, in this first piece of audio here to set it up, because John Cougar Mellencamp had a big problem with something Pat McAfee did. What Pat McAfee did is he was handed a microphone at the Pacers' last home game in Eastern Conference Finals and asked to rile the crowd up, right? As one does. He's a local celebrity. He's there to get the fans riled up. And he decided to take the path of, hey, let's boo these out-of-town New York celebrities who are here to cheer on the Knicks. Here's what Pat McAfee had to say at the Pacers game.
Indianapolis, Indiana. We got some big wigs from the big city in the building. Spike Lee is here. Ben Stiller is here. Timothy Chalamet is here. Let's send these sons of bitches back to New York with their heaters. Bring it. Let's turn this. Oh!
I mean, that's pretty mild, right? I mean, I maybe if you're going to criticize Pat, don't drop the S-bomb. There's kids there. A minor criticism, because if you're at a sporting event, you're going to hear cursing. But I mean, overall, like, that wasn't something where he starts talking about, oh, Spike Lee's here with the process. Like, he's not saying anything crazy. He's just saying, oh, there's out of town Knicks fans. Let's boo them. Like, that's pretty mild. I mean, am I right?
He called them sons of bitches. I mean,
wow. I've heard
third graders.
I've heard third graders say worse things, and people are okay.
I mean, the basic gist of it is, there's people cheering on the Knicks. Let's boo them, right? That's pretty tame. For
and Pat McAfee
standards.
didn't boo them. It was the fans' choice to boo them.
Right.
So
okay, I think we all agree that's a fairly. I mean, maybe it's a little spicy. Maybe don't drop the S-bomb, but overall, not that bad from what Pat McAfee did. So this is the response from musician John Cougar Mellencamp. Although in this one, he just signs it Mellencamp. I guess he's too old to be calling himself Cougar anymore. Quote from his Twitter account. The Knicks-Pacers games have been very entertaining for anyone who likes basketball or sports. I attended Game 4 in Indianapolis. Hoosier hospitality, quote-unquote. I was embarrassed when somebody, under whose direction I don't know, called out some of the people who had made the trip from New York to support their team, and in turn support our team. The audience booed these people. I'd say that was not Hoosier hospitality. One could only say it's poor sportsmanship. I was not proud to be a Hoosier, and I've lived here my entire life. On behalf of most Hoosiers, I would like to apologize for our poor behavior. I'm sure the Pacers had nothing to do with this smackdown. Quote, John Mellencamp. That is maybe the softest thing I have heard or seen since Johnny talked about a dog pooping on the field.
Softer than
that
ass
is
paper.
Softer than what came out of that dog who pooped on the field.
Yeah.
We play the Pat McAfee audio. How do you have that reaction to Hoosier hospitality? I'd like to apologize on the behalf of all Indiana. Like, what are you talking about? Like, so how out of touch is John Cougar Mellencamp with that sort of response?
Yeah. And in terms of what my father would say, softer than ass paper.
There you go. So we'll have to get to this quickly. I only have a few minutes left here in the show. So I think that warranted a response. I mean, what John Cougar Mellencamp said, I would, if I'm Pat McAfee, I would respond. And guess what? Pat McAfee responded. Of
course he did.
John, can't tell you how bad everything you did here was. Everything. The graphic, the quote, the timing. Puts this thing out there. Doesn't even say my name.
No.
John, shut the up. Okay? So they put this out, calls me somebody. Okay? Yep. I am somebody. And I normally don't want people to just get slaughtered. You know? Sure. Because I know we have a very active following. And they like us, John. I don't think you or your team had any idea that might be people that are on my side, John. So I hope whenever you opened your X account, if it is you seen what everybody did, and you could have taken the angle and be like, hey, there's some people attacking Pat for what he did. I'm actually on Pat's side because we represent this state of Indiana. We don't have a lot of people pulling for us in the state of Indiana. But you know what? I see another young buck that's doing it. But instead, you're trying to think you were going to bury me? I don't think so, John. Hey, Coog. Suck it, buddy. And hope I get a chance to see you real soon. I think we're probably going to be at the same place pretty soon.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want any of your bullshit, okay? I don't like you. I know your name, and I don't like you.
So that time that they might see each other is tonight. Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals in Indianapolis.
Celebrity Rumble.
John, shut the up.
I mean, we got to keep that drop. There are certainly times when I would like to say that to John. There's another one that we might
John, can't tell you how bad everything you did here was.
I mean, that's generally what I say. Well, like, whenever the show ends, Cam can back me up on this. Generally, when we walk into the studio after the show, I generally say that. I mean, like, play it one more time for us, Johnny.
John, can't tell you how bad everything you did here was.
But usually you say good instead of bad.
No. I mean, okay, fine. See, you had to go and ruin.
I don't think so, John.
I feel bad for this, John.
I don't think so, John. All right, that'll do it for us. For Cam Smith, for John Belmer, I am Brian McDonald. Shout out to Pat McAfee for going after John Cougar Mellencamp with John Cougar Mellencamp with the softest thing I've ever seen.
I don't think so, John.
I don't think so, John. That'll do it for us. We'll be back next week. The Mean Gene Show with Not Mean Gene is next. Charles Carter, an old friend of the station, on the air next 2 to 3, along with John Belmer behind the glass. Don't go anywhere.
John, can't tell you how bad everything you did here was.